something else that I should be saying. I'm busy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really it.
Yeah.
But you can set aside some time to do it, so find that time. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
I feel like my life gets in the way, so it's like I have a hard time getting back. Like I come home from work and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk. I just want to zone out. But I need to zone in, and I don't know how to get there.
Okay. Yeah, that is a big thing. I personally have that issue, or had it a lot in high school. I would wait to the very last minute to turn in assignments, and because I got away with like throwing a bunch of creative stuff together, usually I floated by, but that doesn't work in the real world. So when it comes to procrastination, I completely understand, and that's why with what I had did, there is a type of event sort of, it's called National Novel Writing Month. They do it every year in November. Yeah. Yes, and so every year you have, you write a novel, what's considered a novel, 50,000 words or more, and you have a month to write that. And so what I ended up doing is I had just finished my first work of fiction. That's Ideas of Illusion. It's a psychological thriller that takes place in the year 2025 in San Antonio. And so I wrote a completely new book during that time frame. And it took, a year, it took a couple months to write the first draft of my first book and 2.5 years to edit it. And so I was like, how am I gonna write a whole book in a month? And so the biggest thing that I look at when writing anything is getting out of, perfection. It's the first draft. You don't need to have it all figured out at that particular moment. So what I'm gonna do is go through a couple of things in here. Basically, I'm gonna go through the problems, the common myths, what is time really, putting things into perspective, and a solution. And so when looking at time, the cool thing about time management is it actually has nothing to do with managing your time. It has to do with managing your priorities, because that's going to take front row in everything. So if you look at, it doesn't matter how much you plan. I personally make a lot of time management planners. You can have something on the planner, you can have something written down, a to-do list, but say that, a pipe breaks in your home and everything's flooded, that's gonna take priority, because you don't want a living room full of water, a bathroom full of water. So, that's gonna take priority. And so, someone who normally would say, I didn't have 5 hours before, now has 5 hours to get that particular issue done. So it doesn't have anything to do with time, it is your priorities. So some of the problems and common myths is I haven't got the time. That is a really big myth, and it's been debunked several times. Time is money. That's also a really big myth. Money is something that comes in abundance. Your time isn't. It's a non-renewable resource. I have to be motivated first, and I work best under pressure. And so I'm going to go through several of these to get kind of idea of this. So with my national novel writing, I approached this issue with the fact that, I wasn't going to look at it like, all right, I'm going to spend an hour a day writing this. I put it in small chunks, and so I was able to estimate about 1,600 words a day. Not 1,600 words as far as within 30 minutes or an hour, but 1,600 words a day. So when doing that, at the end of the month, I ended up having about 50,333 words on the first draft, just based on that simple thing of just focusing on what was the priority with that particular thing. And so we have different priorities. Everyone was to write, they want to finish a book, different things like that. My biggest thing with that is just put it in the small portions. But some of the things are, I haven't got the time. Quote from Don Beckler is, no, you do have the time, you just choose not to use it for the things you say you don't have the time for. Or from Susan May, let me set those riders straight who don't know this secret. That place in this distant future where you're looking for time, well, it doesn't exist. And then from the late great James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be challenged or changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And so what I want to get with that is, when you think about time, or sight, because it's going to be interchangeable, because when you say watch, you can talk about a watch, or you can talk about watching with your eyes. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of correlations within the two to drive home as far as time. And so when looking at these, the biggest thing that I want people to understand when it comes to time management is that this is a self-thing. It's a reflection of yourself. So especially with as far as the last part of James Baldwin, to get your time management down pat, you want to have a clear reflection of yourself, your priorities, your needs, your wants. The other common myth is time is money. And so this quote by Neil, there's a myth that time is money. In fact, time is more precious than money. It's a non-renewable resource. Once you spend it, and if you spend it badly, it's gone forever. So there's a quote from Benjamin Franklin, time is money. And this particular quote has allowed people to be in their head so much that, it kind of cripples them from doing a lot of what it is that they want to do, because they feel like they equate time and money as the same thing. And they're definitely not. And another big thing is I have to be motivated first. And so as writers or creators in general, I'm around a lot of painters, writers of all different age ranges, because that's just how I like to learn. So I'm going to be around several different people. And a lot of times I always hear, I have to be motivated first. I have to have the inspiration. And anyone who does anything professionally, whether you work at a call center or you're writing professionally, you can't wait for that. You have to get up and you have to do it, because that's where you get that's where the money comes from. And so a couple of quotes here are, the work of top creatives isn't dependent upon motivation or inspiration, but rather it follows a consistent pattern and routine. It's the mastering of daily habits that lead to creative success, not some mythical spark of genius. That was James of JamesClear.com. And then Louis Lamar, start writing no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. And then a quote from Stephen King, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. And then a quote from Ecclesiastes, if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never get anything done. Be sure to stay busy and plant a variety of crops, for you never know which will grow. Perhaps they all will. And so when it comes to any of these myths or any of these, it all still boils down to self and watching yourself, watching your habits, watch what it is that you constantly go into, because doing the same thing is, insanity. And so when you're doing these particular habits, it's like a watch. It has its hands, it has its watch face, just like you have the same thing on you. So what is real time? So time, the measured or measurable period during which an action process or condition exists or continues. And that's from Webster. And so I have the I here because the I of Horus, what's interesting about that is if you change that around, Oh. Okay, so we change the lettering of course equals it spelled hours. And so whenever you're looking at your watch, you know, you watch with your eyes as well. Now, we all have our own circadian clock within us. So when I look at time, to me, you are time. And how you're able to manage time is by watching yourself in the present moment and being present with your needs and what it is that you want to accomplish. And so when looking at anything from my first work of fiction or the other books that I've done or the many things that I do, that's my company, Dab Creation, so I dabble in many things, travel, video work, throwing events, and so to be able to do all these things, it's not about multitasking, it's being able to dictate what's a priority at a particular time, and then getting that done and then moving on to the next thing. And so what I want people to realize is that why I don't have enough time, why all of that is, you know, full, because when you look at, for 7 days out of the week, 24 hours, you have 168 hours to play with a week. When you break that down, say you do work 40 hours a week, you do happen to sleep 8 hours a week, that's only equating out to 96. And so with removing as far as the 96 hours of work, 40-hour work week, 8 hours sleep, you still have 72 hours left in a week. Now when I wrote as far as that book in a month, I was working full time and I was catching a bus of full 40 hours plus 2 hours to work and 2 hours back. And all I did within that, again, was just focus on the work, and focus on the priority of what it is that I wanted to get done. So when you're looking at time, you want to put things in a perspective on what it is that you actually want to get done, what you actually need. And some people, a lot of times when they say I don't have the time, it's usually because it's something that they cannot do. And so as an excuse, they would say, I don't have the time. Or it's something that they really don't want to do, which you want to use a different wording so that way you can at least be real about that with yourself. And so to me, being real reality is just being present with what it is that you currently need at that moment, not what's needed a month from now. All of those things can bog you down as far as what presently needs to be done. So whenever I'm doing any of my time management, and I do get overworked, I do take on a lot of things that I think that I can do. And again, I use all of these systems, but the way that I work is in chaotic environments, so that way I have my systems already in place, so I don't have to, I can see what I can do in a chaotic particular environment and then apply my systems that I think of or that I get online when it comes to time management. And because I feel at this age I can just play around with a lot of stuff. So usually I just do this because I know that applying this is going to get me the rewards. I personally applied this when it came to losing weight. Again, it's priorities. I didn't look at, putting in a particular amount of exercise a day. I just looked at the fact that I wanted to be healthy, and looking at that, it's little baby steps each day. And within the year, I lost 100 pounds. So this is, to put it in perspective, this was me back in 2014, this is me in 2016 after losing 100 pounds. So this is what I look at when time management, I put things into perspective so that way I can see what is actually manageable for me and myself. And a lot of times you can accomplish a lot more than you think, but some of the times we get so wrapped up in our heads. And as Ms. Lufa mentioned, she's a Virgo sun sign. I'm a Virgo moon sign. When you look into astrology or different things like that, we have pretty much every zodiac sign within us. So the main ones you focus on is sun, moon, and rising. And so me, I can be super analytic, But as a writer, as someone who does this as a living, travels around and markets myself, you can't. Like, you have to get out of your head if you want to manage your time, if you want to manage your life. And the way that I look at time management is it is self-management. So you want to work, like I said, you want to work on, focus on your priorities versus the actual time itself. And so, before I get into the solutions, does anyone have any questions as far as how it is that issues that they're having with their time and how it is that it's working?
I just want to add, I want to say that, thank you for what you said, because you really brought it home for me that I need to be real with myself. You broke it down, all the hours in a day. I do have time, but I need to realize, do I really want to do? And so that really hit home with me, like, get it together, girl, you know? So thank you for that.
Yes.
Could you go over back on the, when you mentioned about work better under pressure, what was it? You know, you have myth and you have truth. What's the truth on that?
Yeah, so the myth behind that is, let me go back to the slide. Basically, behind that is, you know, a lot of people, even myself at one point, thought that, you know, hey, let me go ahead and wait till the last minute to do stuff, the pressure's on, things like that. But just like people who feel they don't get enough sleep, one of the drawbacks about not getting enough sleep is delusion. And so, you know, that's, you know, one of those things. So on timeandteam.com, they said their poor work habits may force them to work faster under stress, but working better is not likely. Generally, it is a little more than an attempt to fool themselves and rationalize in their own mind that they perform even better as a result. I missed the whole thing. Perhaps others into better is not likely. Generally, it is a little more than an attempt to fool themselves and perhaps others into believing what they are doing is not only okay but desirable, rationalizing in their own mind that they perform even better is as a result. And so, looking at that, there's a difference between efficient work and effective work. You know, efficiency is going to be as far as the rate as what you're putting stuff out, but effective is going to be doing what is actually right. And so there's a rule, I don't know if any of y'all heard of it, it's the 80-20 rule. Basically, 20% of your input is going to get you 80% of your actual output. And so when looking at that, whether in the body, your body is 80% alkaline, 20% acidic, whether looking at, you know, the 20% of the population having 80% of the wealth, different things like that, it's called the vital few. And so when realizing that when it comes to time management or anything like that, there are certain tasks that you're actually doing that is getting a result, and there's a lot of tasks that you're doing that's literally not doing you any good. So when being real with yourself, when self-reflecting, looking at those things, you'll be able to see which one of those tasks are actually doing you something good, or if you're just wasting time. And so my solution as far as with this, now there's a lot. Like I said, you can have all the time management planners, different things like that you want. There's so many online TED Talks on time management, everything like that. But if you're not real with yourself, if you don't know what your priorities are, they're just going to be sitting there. It's not going to work for you. So my solution is the stopwatch principles of time management. And basically, what you want to do is to stop 60 seconds a day. It's 1 minute. Ask yourself, watch your surroundings. Where am I? Watch your thoughts. What is a priority at this moment? Watch your actions. Are you working on your priority? And watch how you feel. What gets done depends on how you feel. And what doesn't get done, a lot of times depends on what you think. And so what you want to do is just be able to ask yourself these 4 questions, 60 seconds a day, to be able to get present with yourself to be able to get what's important done. So if there's something as far as writing, whether it's a book, whether it's a screenplay, whether it's anything that it is that you want to do, you want to make sure that it is on your priority. And so, yeah, that is my presentation on time management.
I'm curious if you make a list of priorities, David.
I do, actually. That's just one of the things that I do. Actually, this is something that I do. My notebooks are just filled with doing that all the time. But like I said, it doesn't work if there's certain priorities that that you're ignoring, because those are going to take over no matter what it is that's on there.
We'll go back to that last one.
Can you read the last line? I can't see it from here.
Yes, watch how you feel. What gets done depends on how you feel. And so a lot of times we're dealing with depression, we're dealing with so many different types of things. And so recognizing how you feel at the moment, not putting pressure on yourself. If you don't feel like doing it, like be okay with that. Don't stress yourself out because it's not going to produce a greater piece of work, So that's just, like I said, I've been here the shortest amount of time on this earth, just to just basically research. So I hope that it is able to help somebody with that.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned that you used to ride the bus a lot and that you did a lot of work on the bus. It just reminded me of my life in my 20s. I didn't have a vehicle and took the bus. And I wrote every day on the bus. I would have an hour of free time. And once I got a car, my writing stopped. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, even though you think a car is going to give you more time, it didn't. I find now I have a hard time.
Yeah, you're driving.
And unfortunately, I work at a place where there's no bus route. So I can't go back to taking the bus. So it's, yeah.
And it's interesting, since I had left my job to do this full time, I actually have complete control over my time, and it crippled me because of all the options. And so that's why it's super important to put your priorities, because it is very easy for me every day to say, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, because I'm running a business, I'm trying to sell books or CDs or get opportunities or different things like that. But like I said, this is what allows me to be like, okay, this is what I need to worry about today. That's all that's important. Every day when I was writing, as far as that book for a month, all that was important, other than, going back and forth from work. But I did that in between calls. Like, I didn't realize how easy it was to get 1,600 words of a first draft. I think that's the biggest thing that people really fall under the trap, is that they're looking at the whole entire big picture and they're trying to tackle that at once, and it's just being able to break that down. The easiest way that I was able to do it was the sizable word count, because I would do something like 500-word short stories on Instagram, where I would ask people to comment an emoji or something like that, and I would just make a 500-word story out of it just as an exercise. And I realized within a day what it was that I was able to do, and that's why it's just being rolled. So maybe 1,600 words a day isn't equal. Maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 500, but either way, that's taking a little small chunks to be able to get it done. There's a quote, build a house, one brick at a time, one step at a time, different things like that. They all go into that to be able to get the big picture actually done.
You mentioned branding yourself, so what do you?
So as far as branding, so I went to school for media communication, and so basically I use myself. I'm a musician, and so the ironic thing is that when I'm performing, I actually sell a lot of books, because it's such a unique thing to see a rapper with a work of fiction. So within a year, as a self-published author, I sold over 300 books just off of this. The thing is that when I do anything, I always like the idea of the cover to be able to grab your attention. So whether it's my CD covers or this, anything that's going to allow a person to come up, because that's half of the battle, it's just them coming up. As soon as they're there, and they read it, sparks their interest, it's 50-50 shot that they're going to take it. And a lot of times, looking at analytics, it's a pretty good. Thanks.
No one's talked about this, but what about self-medicating with alcohol or weed to write? Or is there any other kind of self-medication you can do?
What I try to do is I try to, because the answers, whether it's me or it's any of the other authors that were up here, like, you literally have all the answers. You just have to sit with yourself and be able to ask yourself and just be real with yourself. Like, I try my best not to escape from reality due to the fact that that's not being present, you know, and that works my sense of time. And so with realizing that, you know, I'm able to focus on priorities, you know, so I try my best not to do that. I know that there are several people that, you know, it enhances what it is that they do. You know, I do a lot of research on all different types of subjects, from psychedelics, different things like that, you know. But I know me personally, when it comes to what I want people to get from the stuff that I'm doing, I want to make sure that I'm as present as me, because how can I give someone something that's not fully me, or a part of me that I don't know? Some people, they can do that. They're able to get that particular shadow side of themselves and harness it very well. You know, I'm just barely recognizing that, so I wouldn't feel comfortable with presenting that to someone until, you know, that was something that I knew a little better.
I would just invite anyone to use this regularly. I think it's a wonderful mechanism.
It is.
And add one dimension to it. Take the first 10 seconds to breathe,
Yeah.
to do strategic breathing, the first 10 seconds, and then settle into it.
Because just like a watch, you know, you have that battery that's in it, and if you can hear the ticks, then you know that it's working. If you can realize that you're breathing, you're present, and you realize that, like, you're an actual person in this moment, so you can start hearing a little better.
One of my colleagues, she actually realized that because in education you got things flying at you all the time that have to be done. And so she takes an hour for each thing, and when that hour's up, she moves to the next thing. And she gets a lot done that way instead of like trying to do several things. Because I think we're not really supposed to be multitaskers. We're
Yes.
supposed to focus on people. And so she found that taking just an hour to on a task, if she finishes it, she finishes it. If she doesn't, we have tomorrow. And she just moves on to the next one. Because your inbox is over.
Going back to what you said in the beginning about the procrastination, what I thought was procrastination for myself, I had to explore it a little bit more, and I found a solution for me. I found that, like, in writing, if I'm writing something that's real, or like journaling, something that's really about me, I do better with pen and paper. If it's maybe a little bit more fiction oriented, or something that's going to be like a character that I think is going to take a lot out of me, I have to record.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about writing, erasing, I'm just talking, and it flows. If it's something that is really, really going to be really emotional, and it's going to be just really in depth, I do better early in the morning than maybe versus in the evening when I'm a little bit more tired. So what I thought was procrastination, to me, I found a solution where it really wasn't. It was just, how do I best produce it through what medium, and even listening to books. Some books I can do, like come to the library and check them out and read them. Other books I have to listen audibly for some reason. I can grasp it better. So it's about me. I can get where you're saying as far as me learning me and figuring out what works for me, whether I'm producing or whether I'm receiving from other people.
Yeah, because you're going to be your biggest life hack. Like, once you realize how you operate in your systems, then you're going to be able to do amazing things.
One thing that is important to do is to celebrate yourself, your achievements whenever you do things. You know, I think you had mentioned how like some people mentioning just take say, I did it, you know? So that's always good to do too.
Exactly, because it feels good sometimes we like to reward ourselves with things that aren't really rewarded for ourselves, like, you know, in our body, you know, there's a big stigma, you know, I drink, you know, but I don't drink that much due to the fact that I don't use it as a form of celebration, because it's not doing anything to celebrate my body, you know, so realizing that actual organic, holistic ways of rewarding yourself, whether it's as simple as a pat on the back, like just literally doing that, like, hey, job well done, you know, or taking yourself out, or, you know, watching that particular show that your movie that you put aside so that way you could get this done. You know, just little things like that are going to be able to help you out. And all of it, you know, when I look at time management, like I said, it's self-management and being able to, the same way you would have to clean out the gears and stuff in the watch, keep the maintenance up on that, is the same thing you want to do as far as with yourself. So that's why I thought of this principle. So hopefully you can take a picture if need be. I will have my notebook over there and I'll have email lists. So if you would like time management sheets or a copy of this, I'll be able to send it out to you.
I feel like, I don't know.
I'm glad you asked for it. You know, I almost considered putting it up there on the slide. It's such an easy way to communicate.
Because if you don't give it some time, then you
Thank you.
don't complete anything.
I do sometimes,
And
but
sometimes you just have to be real with yourself. So I want to talk a little bit about, go back to a little bit of branding. If you